Hurricane Erin is wreaking havoc to summer vacation plans as the Category 2 storm barrels north. You can see why. Here's the storm from space, churning in the Atlantic, hundreds of miles offshore. Now, Erin is not on track to make landfall, but it is expected to cause rip currents for days, all the way from Florida up to New England. And mandatory evacuation orders are in place for parts of North Carolina. CBS News meteorologist Rob Marciano is following the developments from Rodanthe on the Outer Banks. Rob, good morning. So you're on the ground there. What's the situation right now?
Well, Michael, the waves have been building for the past 24 hours. They're only going to continue to build here over the next 24 and just eating away at this shoreline. It's been a beautiful sunrise. I won't lie about that. But these waves are 5, 6, 10, even some 12-footers out there. We could see into 20 feet before we're all done here, and obviously eating away at this beach over the past several years. And we got homes that are in precarious situations here. Their owners have evacuated, but these could be swallowed up by the ocean before too long. Yesterday, we spoke with the county manager about how they prep for a hurricane. Here's what Bobby Outen had to say about that.
The waves are going to be huge that come in. They're going to create a lot of overwash. They're going to close the roads on Hatteras, may damage the roads, and so those things cause the problems. They cause the flooding, and so, yeah, it doesn't matter whether it hits us or doesn't. If you get that volume of water, it's a problem.
So they've had the heavy equipment out trying to shore up some of these dunes, especially along Highway 12, because if that gets cut off, that really cuts off the entire lower part of the Outer Banks. So they're prepping, Michael, as if this is going to make a direct hit. That's just the way they do it here. No stranger to hurricanes, but they're certainly worried about the water coming in.
And, Rob, we've been hearing a lot about rip currents. Explain that and why folks should be cautious.
Well, I tell you what, it's up and down the East Coast. It's not just here. I mean, it's all the way from Florida all the way to southern New England. Many beaches in New Jersey and New York have been shut down for good reason. I mean, these waves come in, and, you know, every 100 yards or so, there'll be a channel of outgoing water that will rip you out to sea. And we've had dozens of rescues just down the way at Wrightsville Beach the past couple of days. So they've had no choice but to shut down some of these beaches. And sadly, we've had 30 fatalities already this year. So we average about 70 or so. I didn't realize that number was that high, but that's how dangerous they are. And they can take even the strongest swimmers out to sea and have some devastating effects. So please just stay out of the water until this storm is long gone, which will take several days, Michael.
Some good advice. Rob Marciano, you and your crew stay safe out there.
Turning to weather now, life-threatening weather warnings are being issued today in parts of the eastern seaboard as Hurricane Erin churns in the Atlantic. The storm officials are calling it and are preparing for the worst, even in places where it isn't expected to make landfall, including some tourist hotspots where many are trying to squeeze out the last few days of summer. CBS News senior national weather correspondent Rob Marciano joins us live from North Carolina. So, Rob, what's changed since the last couple hours that you and I spoke?
Well, the winds have picked up a little bit. The waves keep encroaching on this area, and well, the heavy equipment's out. At least it's been out in this neighborhood now. This is where we've been all morning, and basically he's taking sand that's been pushed onto this road a good 100 yards or so and scooping it up and front loading it up back onto this beach and clearing the road. I said, oh, what's your plan of attack? He said, well, probably do this again tomorrow. So it's an ongoing battle as these dunes are constantly shifting and sand continues to intrude. And they're going to try to protect Highway 12 so that the rest of the Outer Banks doesn't get cut off. Talked to a lot of folks yesterday, Vlad, including some officials, Ocean Rescue Director, the county commissioner or manager, and they basically prepare for this as if it was making a direct hit. Have a listen.
I mean, everybody should be concerned. An Olympic swimmer would not be able to fight the power of a rip current.
A major hurricane being offshore is probably more damaging to this area than a Category 1 that makes a direct hit.
Well, you run from the water, and that's what our problem is going to be, is that the waves are going to be huge that come in. They're going to create a lot of overwash, may damage the roads, and so those things cause the problems. They cause the flooding, and it doesn't matter whether it hits us or doesn't. If you get that volume of water, it's a problem.
And then, you know, we've got homes on this beach that are suspect for sure. You can see two of them right there. Those homeowners have been evacuated. Matter of fact, it's pretty much a ghost town here, but those folks certainly are praying and hoping for the best. They lose about 10 feet of beach every year. So along these dunes, any sort of home is going to not be here probably in the not too distant future. The other issue, as you heard, rip currents, right? We've already had dozens of rescues just south of here on Wrightsville Beach. They're closing beaches as far north as New York and New Jersey. This is dangerous, dangerous surf. That's obviously creating rip currents that it makes it for dangerous swimming. Now, there's been surfers out here, Vlad. I can see you out here on your board, but they're not here today. It's not the most fun surfing. It's a lot of work. Yeah, there are 10-footers out there, but as you can see, it's a little bit choppy. So even the surfers aren't really going in right now. And we would say, you know, with as many fatalities as we've already had this year from rip currents, stay out of the water until the storm has passed. But it's going to take a few more days, Vlad.
Yeah, I mean, I went to college in Rhode Island where I first learned to surf, and we would often go out in conditions either before or after a hurricane, but they do look pretty choppy out there, and that's probably why not a lot of surfers aren't taking the risk. Rob Marciano, my friend, good to see you, brother. Democratic Governor Josh Stein is giving an update on Hurricane Erin right now. He's declared a state of emergency as the storm moves up the eastern seaboard. Let's just listen to some of that.
Based on the current forecast, we are anticipating coastal flooding from massive waves, tropical storm force winds, and tidal and storm surge for much of the state shoreline, especially the Outer Banks from this evening through Thursday. Life-threatening rip currents for most of the week. No one should be in the ocean. And extensive beach erosion along much of the coast. Local states of emergency have been declared in Currituck County, Dare County, and Hyde County. Mandatory evacuations are in place for Ocracoke and Hatteras Islands. If you are under an evacuation order, take action now before it's too late. You can find shelter.
Let's bring in CBS News Philadelphia meteorologist Andrew Kozak with another look at the national forecast here. I'm clearly paying attention to that update, Andrew.
Yeah, and especially the most important thing, Vlad, is when he talks about how everybody should be staying out of the water. There is no reason at all anybody needs to be in the ocean until this thing is finally out of the way. Currently, right now, it is spinning around with 100-mile-per-hour winds. And while we still have a little bit of time to go before the worst of it hits, we're talking about not just Cape Hatteras and the Carolinas, but high risk even across the Jersey Shore with breaking waves over 12 feet. Dangerous rip currents, and on top of all of that, we could even be talking about the potential for, well, coastal flooding and erosion. There are some beaches across the East Coast, specifically New Jersey, Delaware, which already have been shrunk from coastal erosion, coastal flooding this past year. We may see much more of that over the course of the next 24 to 48 hours. It is now moving north-northwest at around 13 miles per hour. Now, it will make that curve north and then eventually northeast out to sea, but not before causing some issues. As a Category 2, doesn't seem that strong, right? Still a major hurricane and still forecasted to cause a lot of issues, even though it will not make landfall at all in the United States. It's a very good reminder that even a non-landfalling hurricane could cause some issues. Wave heights for the Carolinas, Cape Hatteras, 15 to 20 feet. That's going to cause a lot of issues. And we're also talking about, again, 8 even up to 12, maybe a little bit more feet when you take a look at the Jersey Shore. Up and down, the high risk rip current risk is extending from New England all the way down to Florida, and likely we're not even going to see this taper off until we get through Friday and then into the weekend. As far as the actual winds from this tropical storm, well, most of them, of course, will be staying, or I should say hurricane. Tropical storm force winds up to 74 miles per hour will continue to stay out to sea. But areas like Hatteras sticking out here likely are going to be looking at a pretty good chance for some wind. In fact, I want to take a look at some of the wind gusts as we go through today, 15 to 25 miles per hour. But as the storm moves north and still stays off the coast, we still could be looking at 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts for areas like Cape Hatteras, 35 to the north, and even New Jersey and New England. Vlad could be looking at wind gusts as we head into your Thursday between 35 and 45 miles per hour.
All right, Andrew, thank you very much.
We also have our eyes on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, firing up this live camera right now. We're talking about Hurricane Erin, sending impacts expected along that coastline. In fact, Erin is hundreds of miles offshore, not expected to do a direct hit making landfall. Still, though, you see the water's there. Rip currents are expected there in North Carolina that you're looking at, up to Florida, and then down into New England. North Carolina's governor declared a state of emergency as officials all up and down the coast in multiple states brace for the worst.
I want to emphasize the importance of taking this storm seriously because it's a serious storm and conditions can deteriorate quickly. Get your disaster kit ready. Think about what you would need after a major storm. Things like enough food, water, and supplies for 3 to 5 days for each person and pet in your household, a flashlight and fresh batteries, a battery-operated radio.
Orders remain in place for parts of that state, and CBS News meteorologist Rob Marciano reports from the Outer Banks.
Here on the Outer Banks in North Carolina, they've brought out the heavy equipment, as you can see. They've tried to clear the main roads. Now they're getting to the secondary roads, and this storm hasn't even gotten to being abreast of it. Still a good 24 hours out before the worst of it comes through. And some of these roads are impassable. Beyond that front loader or wheel loader, you can see those homes. They're on the brink as well. So those homeowners, along with hundreds of others here, have evacuated, hoping for the best as the waves that you see to my right continue to encroach and dig away at this beach. We've got 10, 11 footers this morning. That's expected to build to 15 or even 20 feet as we go through tomorrow afternoon. So that will cut into some of these dunes, likely overwash some roadways, potentially cut off the lower half of the Outer Banks here. And obviously the rip currents are an issue. We've had dozens of rescues down at Wrightsville Beach the past couple of days. We've got beaches that are closed, not just here, but as far north as New York and New Jersey, because this storm continues to grow its wind field and those waves continue to propagate and hit the entire East Coast. Again, the worst is coming here in the next 24 hours, but then the waves and the wind will be going up towards the northeast as we head towards Friday. It'll still be several days before we can get rid of this historic hurricane in the form of Hurricane Erin. Rob Marciano, CBS News, Redanthi, North Carolina.
All right, when you look at the alphabet and you consider we're only at E and we've got only the first name hurricane of the season, we've got a lot more letters to go.
Well, absolutely. Of course, the first 4 were all tropical storms, but this is the first major hurricane, too. Category 3 or above puts it in that major classification. And the National Hurricane Center is anticipating anywhere from 5 to 9 of those within this season alone. So we're starting to see it ramp up. Okay. And I want to start off with how explosive the storm even was. Over the weekend, we saw it grow from a Category 1 to a Category 5 within 12 hours. This is a very impressive system. Currently at a Category 2 status, it still can potentially hit some warmer sea surface temperatures into the coming days, putting it back into a Category 3. How we monitor that, of course, is just the max sustained winds at the center. So 110 miles per hour right now puts it at a Category 2, but I want to show you something else that's going on as well. Even though it's not expected to make landfall in the U.S., we're still keeping a close eye on those waves, especially when it comes to how large they're going to be. Anywhere up to around 20 feet high waves are expected. Rip currents are possible. They were just talking about that earlier. Rob Marciano's out there keeping a close eye on not only the Outer Banks, but I mean now it's all the way up into Virginia where we're seeing tropical storm warnings that have been issued by the National Weather Service. Storm surge is possible anywhere up to around 4 feet, and on top of that, those large waves, they're going to be noticeable as we head into the coming days. Rip currents are definitely life-threatening. This is not the time to be heading out to the water as this system continues to track just offshore of the East Coast. Hurricane Erin still at a Category 2 status, but like I said, it could potentially hit some warmer sea surface temperatures, allowing for some rapid intensification, some strength to it, back to potentially a Category 3 just by Thursday morning. And then it's expected to continue to move north and off into the east as we head into this weekend's forecast. No longer impacting the East Coast at that point, but from now until at least Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, we continue to keep a close eye on the Outer Banks, stretched all the way up into coastal communities in Virginia, as those forecasted wave heights are going to grow in size right around the corner into Thursday afternoon before it tracks offshore heading into Friday. We'll have more on that coming up in a bit. We're also tracking some other systems that potentially could grow in size too. For now, I'm going to send it back to you, Reed.